little blurb to read out, so just give me a second because the meeting's getting held remotely. Okay, so can I now ask that the recording of the meeting has now started? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Petitions Board. This is the first Petitions Board that's actually been held remotely, and I must also confirm that it's been recorded. It's an important step for the board. As you know, we're unable to meet in public as an unusual location due to the government guidelines and public health measures to tackle the COVID-19 emergency. Therefore, it is important that we take those steps available to us to make the proceedings of this board open to scrutiny, and not only by the public, but also by other elected members. And I can advise that a recording of this meeting will be available to watch on Renfrewshire Council's website following the meeting. Although most members of the board will be familiar with the basic rules that are to be followed when a meeting is held remotely, to ensure that the meeting proceeds efficiently, there are a couple of additional points that I would now like to bring to your attention. Number one, it is even more important when meetings are being held, that when they're being recorded, that is only the person who is speaking who has their microphone on. This is because the recording in the noise, if there is another noise from our microphone is picked up, then the microphone will go to that person. So that will distract from the speaker, and you might not obviously realise. Number two, for the same reason, it is important that you allow a short pause between speakers to ensure that the camera adjusts to the new speaker. And three, the contents of any show conversation instant message sent on the Teams system will be shown in the recording of the meeting. Members who are accessing the meeting by phone should also put their phone on mute when addressing the meeting until addressing the meeting. Now, before moving on to the agenda, can I now ask that the clerk do a roll call vote so that it's clear who is present on the recording? And after the roll call, I'll move on to the agenda.
Right, convener present today, we've got Councillor Adam McGregor, Councillor Brown, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Graham, Councillor Hughes and Councillor Kerr. And there's an apology from Councillor Steele.
Okay, that's fine. So, right, so apologies, we've got Councillor Steele then for apologies. Do we have any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. So we'll get down to the items of business, and that's the petition for admission policy of Ralston Early Years and Children's class. Okay, so Stephen, I believe you're the petitioner then?
I am. Good afternoon.
Okay, so, good afternoon, Stephen. So if you want to take the floor as such.
Okay, yeah, basically my grievance is with the policy that's currently in place throughout. Now, the way it's done is done through a panel area. So what that means is local kids are being denied access to local schools. Now, my instance is very straightforward. I live within about 100 yards of the Ralston nursery. Now, that was a facility that wasn't in place when I went to Ralston Primary and then to Paisley Grammar, and I've always stayed in the area. But the reason it wasn't in place is there just wasn't one there. A lot of the parents, including mine, fought for a nursery to get placed there in order to give local kids the ability to go to a local link-up school and then go into Ralston. Now, the way it's done at the moment is instead of having a catchment area that, traditionally what schools done, it's done via a panel area. And what this basically means is there's kids that can come out with what I would think is, the local boundary that are getting into the school. And it's not giving preference to local children. Now, this has been happening quite a while. It's something that's been, certainly since this has been raised, the amount of support I've had when people stop me in the street, people chat my door, people putting through things at my door, people stop me at my wee boy's football, that kind of thing. I didn't realise how many people were passionate about it, and especially in this area. But what it's doing is, for instance, if you stay, say, as far away as Hawkhead Road or you stay in Gallaghill, it's giving parents the ability to put Ralston Nursery as their first preference. Now, that then means that they can get in there, and it's then, diluting the amount of local kids that are able to get access to it. And for me, that's not right. I stay in the area, I pay council tax in the area, I stay around the corner from the school. So all these things are important when you look at things like local link-ups, and going from the stepping stone from the nursery to the primary school and then to the secondary school. So I don't think it's right that, Gallagher's got a few schools. If you stay in Hawkhead Road, you can go to Williamsburg. There's ones down that way that are far more local for you. And probably suit your circumstances better. But what it is now, it's currently allowing people out of the area the ability to come in and use facilities. And I don't think that should be the case. For me, I think local kids should get preference because they stay in the area, because they contribute to the area. And I think even more so in the last few months, if you look at the current circumstances that we're unfortunately now living in, and the way this is now taking place and why it's taking place, it would be a lot easier to manage if you had schools that basically had a catchment in the local area instead of people coming in and out, because there is big restrictions on travel at the moment. There is big restrictions on where we can go. And we don't know where we're going to be in the next 6 months to a year, never mind the next 2 to 3 years. But my main grievance has been with children not getting preference from the local area getting into the local school. I don't think that should be the case. There's quite a number of people that would be outside the catchment area, you know, for the traditional school that are gaining access to the nursery places, and then that's fallen on. Obviously, if you get in for that, you know, the third year thing, you're getting in the next year, and I would expect you to carry on to school, because I don't think it's fair on children that if you went there as a nursery, then you have to turn around to their parents and say you're not getting into school because they've got the friendship groups. And my concern as well was my son's missing out at the moment as well, because you build the friendship groups up, and if he's going to start, hopefully, you know, going into the fourth year, but he's already behind the 8 ball, because they've got the friendship group build up, and you're having to then break up the friendship groups established at the moment in order to facilitate that. So I don't like the way the situation has been. That's why I've raised it. And as I say, support I've had in the local community from people I don't know. I'm not. This isn't you know, something I normally do or anything like that. But for the amount of people that have charged my door randomly and say stop me, the amount of people who have got in touch with me, it's taken me aback. And I know that it's not just an issue that I've had, it's an issue. I've got a lot of friends who have got kids in here as well, and it's certainly something that a lot of people are passionate about. So that's why I'm here. But my main gripe is I stay very close to the proximity of the school, and yet, you know, there's children from further afield getting in it. I don't think that's right, and I don't think that should be the case. Hence why I would like the rules to change to be more suitably placed.
Thank you, Stephen. Firstly, I for one, I'm pleased that you brought this petition before us, you know, and I'm supportive of it. You know, I think, you know, it's really important, as not just an Ulster councillor, you know, I'm saying this as a local authority. I think it's really important, if the gift is within the local authority to get this sorted, that we do look at it, because, you know, I look at some of the campaigns that we have as a local authority. We've started ourselves to try and detract parents from parking at the school, to deter them from taking the car in the first place. You know, we've done all of that. We've got the climate emergency policy that we brought into place. So I would think you should be taking cognizance of local children, absolutely, that can walk within a reasonable distance to a school, to nursery, especially when we try and implement this in policy ourselves, you know. So I think it's important as a local authority that we do take cognizance of local children that are within walking distance. So, and then also, as you said, that, you know, there's plans being afoot, you know, for the 20-minute neighbourhood. Again, that is something so that within walking distance, again, you take cognizance and you make that a priority. So I certainly would be supportive of your petition, Stephen. So supportive of it that I wouldn't suggest, you know, put it to the Scottish Government. I would suggest that we deal with it within the local authority. We refer it to our Education Policy Board for a review, so they can look at that and take all these things into account that we recommend, because I do think you have got a very valid point, Stephen, and I'm very supportive of it. But before there's any formal decision made, what I will do is take the opinion of the board before I move any motion, okay? So is there any questions or any opinions?
Councillor Campbell's got a question.
Okay, Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, convener. Can I just confirm that you can hear me okay?
Yes, Michelle, we can hear you fine.
Thank you. Sorry, I have had some issues with my take, so I do apologise for not having my camera on as well. Mr. Harrigan, thank you very much for meeting with us today. I do think that my viewpoint is more Hampshire-wide. And I am supportive of what the convener has said in terms of the comments here. I do feel taking it to the Education Board would be probably the most effective first step, so that it has the local connection attached to it. I know that obviously the Scottish Government issues guidance, and that is then considered by the Education Department, but I'm very much a grassroots individual. I feel that we need to garner and understand each of the community's issues. I know that Mr. Harrigan has made his point about his community and how that is affecting people around him. But I want to know if there are other issues, which I haven't had conversations with several councillors cross-party. We know that these issues exist across other neighbourhoods as well. So I think it would be a waste of an opportunity for us not to look at it in a wider perspective, in particular because I'm quite impassioned about the national priority around the 20-minute neighbourhoods. If we want to make that really work, I think that this is a good opportunity for us to address that. So I would like to formally second your recommendation to this board, convener, if you would appreciate that. Thank you.
I would appreciate that, Councillor Campbell. Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments? Any other councillors would like to have a See?
Yeah, Chair, I've had my hand up since the start. It's Councillor Graham, if that's okay, I can come in.
Yes, of course you can come in, Neil. I think
Thank
Councillor
you.
had their hand up before you, just to clarify that, but on you go.
We won't get bogged down in the politics of who had the hand
Stand.
up first. So first of all, I'd like to thank Stephen for bringing this issue. Sorry, I've just got my camera off because I'm having some difficulties with the connection. So I just thought I'd put it off so you could hear me better. So just like to thank Stephen for bringing this issue to a board, and it is an issue in Ralston over the years. I met with Stephen over the summer period to discuss his very real concerns regarding his child's place in preschool nursery. I think whilst we understand that a placement at a nursery has no bearing on the school a child attends, as Stephen said, the relationships built at nursery level is very important. Going into primary one is a very big step from nursery, especially when you've already formed friendships with their friends. The vast majority of families in the Ralston area send their children to Ralston Primary School, and Ralston is a community. And for me, I think it's totally wrong that children in Ralston are being denied a place at Ralston preschool when there's children living outside the area that are getting places, while local Ralston residents, who in this case can see the school from their garden, are refused admittance. So I think it is important, and I do agree with you, Chair, that it should be given, it should be sent over to the Education and Children's Policy Board. And also what Councillor Campbell said, it is a sort of Renfrewshire-wide programme. This is not just, I'm sure, a problem in Ralston. I'm sure it's a problem in many areas of Renfrewshire. And I'm sure Stephen can understand that as well. So I'm happy for it to go to the board and for us with the view of changing the zoning policy in Renfrewshire to help the people of Ralston. But thanks for that, Chair, and thanks, Stephen.
Okay, thanks, Neil. I would say it would be a Renfrewshire-wide policy. It wouldn't be, Neil. And can I just confirm, Neil? Obviously, you're aware of the fact that a place in nursery doesn't guarantee a place in the primary. That's a different issue out with.
Oh, yeah.
So you realise that
in
appeals, right? That's fine. And as I say, we are all supportive of this, Stephen, so we're pleased that you brought it towards us, and we do want to effectively take care of it, hence the reason that we're recommending we put it to the policy board so they can look to review that and take cognizance of all the points that we've raised here today with regards to being local, and all the rest of it. So it sounds like we're all singing off the same hymn sheet here. I would move that that's what we do, that we refer it to the Education Policy Board with recommendations of them having a review to take cognizance of local children that live within local area, so within a reasonable walking distance. The same way that we try and encourage parents to walk to school, we can't, we've got to be across the board when we make these decisions. So it would only be fair to have a real look at that policy and see what we can get done with regards to that. So Stephen, I hope that you're happy with that. I hope you feel as if we've listened to you today and you're quite happy with the outcome.
I'm very appreciative of everybody's time and everybody's assistance with this. As I say, I do feel it's an important issue, and I think you're quite right in saying that if I'm feeling this issue in this area, I know there'll be other people throughout the, different areas in Renfrewshire that will have the same concerns as myself. So yeah, I don't want anybody to have to face the same issues that I'm going through and have to go through all the rigour. I would rather much easier and streamlined system. So yeah, I'm very thankful for the outcome and what you proposed today. And
it's worthwhile petitioning the council. See, you can get results.
Sorry, Convener. I think Councillor Brown wants to.
Again here, Stephen. Well, listen, thank you, everybody. Yes, Paul.
I think Councillor Brown's want to make a contribution.
Yes, Bill, on you come. Your mic's off, Bill.
That's it.
There you go.
Right. Has Kathleen from Education got anything to add to this that would guide us or anything?
Yeah, well, I think we've made the decision, Bill, but yes, Kathleen can come in and give us some great advice. On you go, Kathleen, and you come.
I mean, obviously at this stage, I think it would, if the decision has gone back to the Education and Council Policy Board, when we met and when I've fed in it was looking at the council's zoning arrangements, if you like, is tied in with government policy and guidance. So if it's going back to the council, the Education and Children's Policy Board, I'm assuming that all the factors would require to be considered in terms of, I know you've referred to here in terms of the council's kind of local walking policy arrangement. So I'm assuming that all of those matters would need to be considered at that point, in terms of government expectation and flexibility and all of the goals within that, as well as other aspects you've talked about today.
Yeah, that would be the Education Policy Board. They would take cognizance of all these facts and come out with a decision at their policy board, you know, and the review that we're recommending takes place. Okay, so that's clear. Right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well done.
Councillor Graham wants to come in.
If that's okay, thanks, Chair. It's just if I could ask a question on 1.6, the last sentence. When council officers met this year, they did reflect on the panel area for the Ralston, I've lost it now, for the Ralston area, and believed it would not be feasible to consider Ralston on its own in a defined catchment area. I just wonder if there was anyone, if it was Kathleen or anyone wanted to give a
say that we're asking for it to define as a zone on its own. What we're saying is take cognizance with a bit of kind of common sense approach here, that if the kids live in Ralston and they're safe walking distance, then surely they have to come as a higher priority, maybe a priority 4 or something after the list that you've got. But that would be for the Education Department to take, you know, to look at. But what we're asking them to do is take priority for kids that live locally within any nursery that they're actually allocating spaces in. Is that okay with everybody? Stephen, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I understand there will be, you know, paperwork and basically, you know, bits and bobs that you can't, you know, class Ralston as that particular area, if that's going to be the kind of thing that's a stumbling block. But common sense, as you say, has to come into play. I say I stay less than 100 yards, and there's people coming from much further afield that are getting present and getting into the nursery. That's what really frustrates myself. That's what really frustrates a lot of the locals. It's not that we want access banned from people out of the area. We just want preference for the people that stay very close to the facilities, because again, it's forming the friendship links, having friends around the corners. At the moment, you've got the likes of myself, the wee boys across the road. So my son goes to a nursery in Seattle. They go to different nurseries. So you're not getting the friendship groups to carry on forward, and they're important, and then they're more important now than ever. Unfortunately, with this current climate that we're living in.
I do understand, Stephen. I was in a similar situation. My wee girls were in a different school from my son in nursery time, so I completely understand. And I know it's been going on that long because he's just got a driving licence through today. So I know, and that's why I'm pleased you brought it before us here today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Convener.
Ken. Oh, yep, Ken. This is our head lawyer coming in now.
Right,
Hi, Ken.
Chair, it's just to confirm in governance terms that, you know, it's perfectly proper for the board to refer a matter to a policy board with its recommendations. It's just to be clear, obviously, that I think you did make the point, Chair, that it is for the policy board to make the final decision on that, and you would have to determine what is going to be involved in that review that you've asked for. In my view, it would probably involve a review of the whole policy that was approved back in November, or certainly that's one of the options that would be involved with that. But it was just to really make clear that it is clearly within the competence of this board to refer it to the Education Policy Board and to make its recommendations, again, for the policy board to take a final view on with that.
Yes. That's exactly what I was trying to put across there, Ken. So is that everybody's understanding what's happening with this petition now? Good. Thank you, Ken, for clarifying in legal terms. Okay. Well, there you are there, Ken. Your camera's on. Right. Well, thank you. I don't think, is there anything else you want to confirm, Ken, before we concur the meeting? Are you quite happy that everything legally has been covered?
Councillor Adam McGregor, it's just a matter of you confirming that the board's in agreement and there are no obviously counter proposals to what to your motion.
Okay then. So can I just ask the board then, are we all in agreement?
Agreed.
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 Well, that's great. Right, excellent, thank you. Right, well there you go then, that's it, agreed. We refer it to the Education Policy Board for the review to take place so they can take cognizance of local children when they're allocating nursery placements. Okay?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your time. And all your councillors as well. Thank you very much. Nice to see your faces. Hopefully I'll see you again in person in the not so distant future. Eh? Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Stephen.